From the fan-favorite star of Peaky Blinders, Cillian Murphy, to one of Hollywood's most prominent actresses, Michelle Yeoh, here are the John Wick director's dream actors for Part 5. You'll want to strap in, because the list is huge. In an interview with the director, Chad Stahelski, the stuntman that created the John Wick franchise, revealed that he's given a lot of thought to who he'd like to cast in his fifth movie. The first actor that came to his mind was Cillian Murphy, having fallen for him because of Peaky Blinders. He's convinced that Murphy would fit right into the John Wick universe, and I can't say I disagree with him. We've had some memorable villains in this series, but Cillian would really take the cake as the most threatening foe to headline a movie. He's definitely proven his chops with major roles in a bunch of Christopher Nolan movies, including the starring role in his upcoming Oppenheimer. Cillian isn't the only Oppenheimer star that Chad wants, saying that he'd totally dream up a role for Robert Downey Jr. if he sat next to him. Now, I don't think it'd be really hard to come up with something for RDJ to do in the John Wick franchise, since he honestly seems tailor-made for the role of a hotel manager, playing a role similar to Winston. The biggest challenge in casting Downey at this point is paying his massive salary, as he's considered to be one of the most expensive actors in Hollywood today. That being said, Downey is a lover of movies at heart, and he's more than willing to take a pay cut to land a role in a movie that he really cares about. Would John Wick be worth that to him? I guess we'll find out when we find out. And speaking of hyped-up casting choices, Chad wants to invite Sean Bean to play the game of Wick. For a lot of folks, this might be the most exciting idea of them all, since Sean Bean is a total fan-favorite actor. From Lord of the Rings to Game of Thrones to action classics of the 90s, Bean definitely appeals to John Wick fans in every demo. It's been a while since we've seen him in a major movie, so I think it's about time for Sean to return to the blockbuster world. The only downside of casting him, though, is his reputation of always dying in movies has made his casting a bit of a spoiler. But hey, most characters that cross the path of John Wick usually end up dying. With a cast like this, John Wick, Chapter 5 is shaping up to be one of the craziest movies of all time, and I bet you can't wait until you get to see it. Unfortunately, this is where I have to bring in the bad news. Chapter 5 isn't guaranteed to happen. The story of John Wick Chapter 5 has lots of twists and turns. In the beginning, not only was Chapter 5 totally on the slate, it was meant to be shot back-to-back with Chapter 4, and the only reason that plan was changed was because of our friend, the coronavirus. Still, Keanu Reeves said that he was more than happy to keep making sequels, and Chad appeared to be down to continue the franchise too. If only he could get a break from the series. Something happened between then and the release of Chapter 4 because while promoting the movie, both the director and his star told the press that they wanted to put the franchise to rest, and anyone who's seen Chapter 4 would have the same impression of the franchise's future. And yet, because the fourth movie smashed the box office, Lionsgate's president Joe Drake started talking about doing a sequel again, and Chad fell in line, saying that he'd be willing to work on a sequel. Chad and Keanu really want to take a break from doing these movies, and in the meantime, Lionsgate is expanding the franchise. That's right, we do have some stuff to look forward to. The first John Wick spin-off will be The Continental from the world of John Wick, and the title really tells you everything you need to know about this TV series. Turning time back to the 70s, we catch up with a young Winston, who's looking to take power as the manager of the Continental Hotel. The movie will follow the hotel over a long period of time, as Winston tries to establish the hotel during America's winter of discontent and the mafia's rise to power. This isn't your typical TV show, though, as it'll be made up of just 3 episodes, each being about 90 minutes long. You can look forward to the show hitting the waves in September 2023, and it'll be streaming on Peacock in the US, though there's no word yet on how people outside America will be able to join the fun. The success of the Continental is gonna be important to the future of the franchise, since it has to prove that Lionsgate can make movies and shows in this universe without its most iconic characters. The Continental isn't the only spin-off in the works, though, and will be returning again to the John Wick universe with Ballerina, which is set to come out in June 2024. Directed by Len Wiseman, this movie is going to take place between the 3rd and 4th chapters of John Wick, and it'll be based on the ballet/assassin school that we first saw in Chapter 3. The lead character will be Rooney, and she'll be played by none other than Ana de Armas. We'll get to see her hunt down the people who killed her family, and we can also look forward to cameos from Winston and John Wick himself. Besides being the first big screen spin-off, this is the first project of the franchise that doesn't involve any of the usual suspects from the movies, and that makes it an important project for the franchise going forward. Chad Stahelski and Derek Kolstad won't be willing to do these movies forever, so the only way to secure the future of the John Wick series is to make sure other writers and directors can go on without them. Now, Ballerina hints at an interesting possibility for Chapter 5. While the John Wick movies have featured badass women, they were never the stars of the show, since those were Keanu's movies. But could this franchise have a female-led future? Going off some of the director's other casting choices, he might be leaning that way. For instance, Charlize Theron is someone he's considering for Chapter 5, and she's a Hollywood icon that he likes after watching Atomic Blonde. That movie has been compared to John Wick a lot, so you can see that she'd be a natural fit for this series. Not only is Charlize an action star, she's talented enough to take on any role that you throw at her, and you only need to look at the insane list of movies she's done as proof of her skills. Could she make for a better hero than Keanu Reeves? I'll let you puzzle that out for yourself. Speaking of actresses that have rocked action roles, one of them comes to us from Lovecraft Country. Jurnee Smollett is another actress who's caught the director's attention. And while Lovecraft Country wasn't an action series, she's had action roles before. Her most recent action movie was Birds of Prey, though she got her hands dirty plenty of times as Nicole Wright on True Blood. Despite the fact that Jurnee has been acting for a decade, it feels like she's looking for her big break. I'm sure she thought that Birds of Prey could have been it, though that didn't really pan out. I think of all the actors we've looked at so far, Smollett would be the quickest to accept an invitation to the John Wick franchise, and I'd love to see her in it. At this point, the director started to get really ambitious in his casting, putting Michelle Yeoh on his dream cast, though I do think he'd be able to get her on board. Stahelski has been in the business for a long time, and he first worked with Michelle on a commercial long ago, though he's been dying for an opportunity to make a real movie with her. He might have to get in line though, because Michelle is still riding high on the success of Everything Everywhere All at Once, a movie that saw her blending action and drama in one role. That was far from the first time she's shown off her incredible acting ability, of course. And for a movie like John Wick, her experience with the James Bond franchise and the Marvel Cinematic Universe put her head and shoulders above her competition. I mean, she really has done it all, which is something few actors can say for themselves. So from Michelle Yeoh, one of Hollywood's hottest stars, to Cillian Murphy, a stone-cold movie legend, those were the John Wick director's dream actors for Part 5.